The Pacific coast is a graveyard for many ships over the years. So many of these vessels had interesting beginnings and different ways that they wound up wrecked along the shore. The first recorded ships to sail the west coast of North America were part of a Spanish expedition commanded by Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo. His fleet arrived in the region that is now San Diego on September 28, 1542. The oldest shipwreck in the U.S. West Coast is the Spanish galleon San Agustin, which sank in November 1595. It was driven ashore by a severe storm and scattered across Drake's Bay in present-day Point Reyes, California, while on an exploratory expedition. The graveyard of the Pacific is the most active area of the West Coast for shipwrecks. This highly hazardous stretch spanning from Tillamook Bay in Oregon to Vancouver Island has claimed more than 2,000 vessels since the 1800s. It starts with abruptly rising rocky coasts, add strong winds, and mix in low visibility from incessant fog and rain. Strong winds, sometimes reaching hurricane strength, batter the Washington and Oregon coasts in winter. The foggiest location in the continental U.S. is Cape Disappointment on the northern terminus of the Columbia River, with 106 days a year of dense fog. The interaction of the westward movement flow of the Columbia River and incoming waves produces the dangerous Columbia Bar, with large waves and threatening shoals. Strong easterly winds exit the Strait of Juan de Fuca, frequently reaching 60 to 80 miles per hour. The West Coast includes national marine sanctuaries. In these sanctuaries are documented hundreds of protected heritage wrecks along the coast, including Monterey Bay has 405 documented wrecks. Greater Farallones has 415 documented wrecks. Olympic Coast, 200 documented wrecks. Channel Islands, 200 documented wrecks. And Cordell Bank, 1 documented wreck. I found a huge list of military ships that have sunk, either through wrecks or intentional wrecks off the West Coast. Before the days when the Navy towed mothballed ships to the Navy Ghost Fleet, they might face a few different fates. They could be scrapped for their parts and valuable metals. This is still a most common method of disposal. If they were still functional but out of date, they could be sold to an ally nation for continued use. Many ships were used for target practice. In this instance, they were sunk and then used. A few ships are still around today as museums. We have a couple of those in San Francisco. The SS Jeremiah O'Brien is one of them. The last way a ship can be used is part of an artificial reef. The ship has to be completely cleaned of environmental hazards and sunk in an area to create marine habitats and diving destinations. Until then, the ship is brought to the Ghost Fleet. There used to be a huge Ghost Fleet at Port Chicago in Suisun Bay, but due to environmental problems, many of the ships have been moved up to the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard in Bremerton, Washington. If you've stayed with me this far, I want to thank you so much. If you could give the video a like and subscribe, it would help the channel out a lot. Again, thank you so much. This is a list of wrecked naval ships and where they are today. Pause the video if you need to read them a bit slower. There are some wrecks that you can visit. I'm only including shipwrecks you can possibly walk to or see from land. I'm not including those you need to snorkel or scuba dive to visit. The Peter Iredale in Warrenton, Oregon. It ran aground in 1909. The Peter Iredale is one of Oregon's most popular backdrops for photographers as it lays in the sand at Fort Stevens State Park. It was built in 1890 and is 285 feet long. It has 4 huge masts to help it make long ocean crossings. It's mostly steel, which explains why much of it is still visible despite being run aground more than 100 years ago. The ship was attempting to enter through the mouth of the Columbia River. an area known for strong waves and swells from the river water colliding with ocean water. Add in low light, strong winds, and a bit of fog, and it's not surprising that the ship ran aground in its current location. Unfortunately, due to poor weather and being too buried in the sand, the ship was unsalvageable. If you want to see it for yourself, make sure you go at low tide. But that is for all of these ships. If you really want to see them, low tide is the only way to go. SS Palo Alto in Aptos, California, it was abandoned in the 1930s. If you take a close look at the end of the pier at Sea Cliff State Park, you may see the SS Palo Alto. You'll share this spot with plenty of fishermen. This is a prime location, but you'll be able to see the wrecked 420-foot-long ship built as an oil tanker for World War I. The war ended before it was finished, however, and it was quickly sold to a nightlife company who turned it more or less into the 1920s version of a party ship, complete with bars and a swimming pool. But that company went belly up during the Great Depression, and the SS Palo Alto just stayed there. Locals used to fish from it from the 1950s, but then it closed for safety issues. Today, the Palo Alto is slowly falling apart due to waves and heavy storms, though it's still quite visible. It's best seen at low tide, which I really shouldn't have to say, and I already did say, so remember, low tide. Lots of seabirds use it, and it's not unusual to see sea lions and seals swimming around the ship. The Visitor Center at Seacliff State Beach has an exhibit on the history of the ship and surrounding marine ecosystems, since the whole area is part of the Marine Bay National Marine Sanctuary. Point Reyes Shipwreck in Inverness, California. Located behind the Inverness store at Sir Francis Drake Boulevard, this iconic half-sunken wooden fishing boat is a favorite photography spot. It sits just a few dozen yards off the shoreline in Tomales Bay. Expect to have a few people there with you. I have never not seen at least a small crowd taking pictures. Land's End Trail in San Francisco. When taking the coastal trail south of Mile Rock Beach, you can catch glimpses of the rusted steam engines of the SS Frank H. Buck, sunk in 1937, and the SS Lyman Stewart, sunk in 1922, during exceptionally low tides. Now this one I have never seen. Maybe I've not been there during exceptionally low tides. I've never actually looked for them either. But if you've seen them, let me know, because maybe I will make an effort to go out there during a really low tide just to see if I can find them. SS Dominator, Palos Verdes, California. The rusted remains of the 441-foot Greek freighter that crashed in 1961 sit below the cliffs at Lunada Bay. It's a rugged hike down to the beach, and the wreckage is best explored at low tide. Repeat it after me. And the last one is SS Monte Carlo, Coronado, California. Resting near the Coronado Shores Beach, this infamous former oil tanker turned floating casino sank in 1937. It is buried in the sand and typically only reveals itself during extreme winter low tides. And here's another video you may like.